Once again live down here in the Birdcave Studios for another episode of the Sports Frenzy Podcast, Sold Out. With me, your host, Freddie Aloso, with my co-host, the devil you know.
I normally at this point talk about birthdays and deaths and such. That I'm going to save that for the show because I have a little bit of information about Ole Anderson and Virgil, who we lost this week. So,
with that, our other co-host, the good Reverend himself, Jason Todd.
Yeah, I'll give you the cheerful stuff ahead of the eulogies. For those of you who remember the real obscure wrestling companies, this would have been the 37th anniversary of Southpaw Regional Wrestling's. I always forget the name of this show. How do I always forget the name of this show?
You just told us what it was.
I know. Lethal Leap Year. That's dangerous. It would have been the anniversary of Lethal Leap Year, but 1987 wasn't a leap year. So for those of you who remember the Southpaw Regional Wrestling skits, those were from actually about 7 years ago, and it was just a bunch of WWE guys with nothing better to do than fool around on YouTube and parody early 80s Southern wrestling, and that was a lot of fun. But for a topical bit of history, on today in 1992 at Super Brawl 2 from the Mecca in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Sting defeated Lex Luger for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. Also, that was Luger's last match, and I didn't notice his last match in WCW before he went and signed up for something called WBF. Are you familiar with that?
Yeah, World Bodybuilding Federation. Right?
Yeah. Vince McMahon was doing a lot of stuff back then. A lot of stuff. But yeah, right. Sting won. So.
Oh, yeah. Shocker. And last but not least, the encyclopedia himself, Blackbeard.
And gentlemen, I don't have anything wrestling related to say, so I'm going to give a plug to our sister podcast on that bullshit, the OTBS.
OTBS.
Where I learned that Big E Mafia got his wife from a mail order catalog with a coupon for $59.99. And I'd also like to announce that Freddie Aloso officially will be starting his concert tour this summer, singing his favorite hits, The Supremes, I Got Sunshine, Boyz II Men, End of the Road, and Donkashay.
Hey.
He murdered that Donkashay.
If you want a preview of it, listen to the Romance podcast they did a few weeks ago.
Go check it out.
Can you put that website in the chat?
Or the link?
Yeah.
It's called Open Your Podcast.
No, I'm talking. It was a joke about the wife thing. Never mind. Move on.
Hey, by the way, is your co-host sleeping on your couch now, or like
Right?
how'd that work out?
No, Biggie Mafia is alive and well in his own house.
Good. You've got confirmation. Okay.
Do you have a paper with today's date on it that you can prove it?
we can set that up.
Yeah, bro, I'm listening and I'm just like, man, this guy just keeps digging himself deeper and deeper. Holy crap!
Hey, that's what makes the magic happen on OTBS.
And then Freddie and his lovely wife. First off, I would never mess with her. She's one tough lady. I learned that. The other thing I learned is they're talking about how they don't do anything for Valentine's Day, and then proceed to tell us everything they did on this Valentine's Day. I'm like,
that's what we do.
And she like basically said what they did that day, and then they throw to Freddie, who literally almost word for word repeats exactly what she just said. And I'm just like, we just heard this.
Nailed it.
It was skillful on your part.
Hey,
I will say I'd never heard anybody do quite that well.
Skillful or survival instincts?
I mean, survival's a skill. I guess.
That's what we do, man.
All right.
Stay alive, stay alive.
And we won't talk about how big that peanut butter heart really is, will we?
Speaking of not alive, let me start my eulogy here for two of the wrestlers we lost this week. Let me start out talking about Ole Anderson. If you're not familiar with Ole Anderson, please come out of the rock that you live under. and sit under the learning tree for a minute. Ole Anderson was a legend, one of the original Four Horsemen. Even before that, though, I had done a little research before the show started, and he was part of the original Minnesota Wrecking Crew with Gene Anderson, and they won. I think I counted 17 tag team titles together, including 7 world titles.
Who booked them? Jerry Lawler?
Well, I mean, a lot of times he was the booker, so but still.
Okay, so Jerry Lawler took notes from him. Got it.
They were the the originators of tag team wrestling, pretty much in the southern area. They double teaming tactics and working the one part of the body. But like I said, besides that, he was the booker as well in a lot of different areas, especially in Georgia. If you get a chance to read his book, he was a fascinating guy because he probably hired and fired Tommy Rich about 12 times. Buzz Sawyer like 10. Like everybody, I think if you didn't get fired by Ole Anderson, there was something wrong with you. All right, because he was very much a by the book kind of guy. Like you show up for the shows even if you're injured. You show up for the shows even if you have a flat tire. Like you don't not show up. And if you didn't show up, he'd fire you. And then a few days later, he'd be like, "All right, well, let me bring you back." So it was an interesting guy, and that from that respect. And then, burnt a lot of bridges along the way too. If you notice, when the Four Horsemen were inducted into the Hall of Fame by the WWF or WWE, excuse me, he wasn't in there. It was Barry Windham. And honestly, it should have been Ole, but Ole and Vince McMahon had such a poor relationship. I'm sure that just put that nail in there where they were never gonna. Like if it happened today, I bet you Triple H would induct Ole Anderson.
I read that it was actually Ole that turned down the invite.
Well, I mean, it goes back and forth. They really did not like each other, and Ole Anderson had a problem with today's wrestling a lot. As a matter of fact, what I thought was interesting too was when you read some of the eulogies, Ric Flair had a lot of nice things to say about him, but if you read Ole Anderson's book, Ole Anderson had nothing nice to say about Ric Flair. Damn. He called him predictable and a loser, and every match was the same. And I mean, he really had nothing nice to say about anyone. I'm surprised he was married and had kids, because he really was a miserable guy. And I met him firsthand. I actually have a picture. Let me grab it real quick.
I can't believe we're giving this guy this much attention.
Well, I just wanted, I had a somewhat of a personal connection. So there's all the Four Horsemen with Ole Anderson.
Nice.
And he was mean. They were all not very nice, but he was probably the meanest. But
Freddie, I want you to take notes. You see how he was prepared?
Whoa! Because I don't know where that came from.
Because on that episode, there was at one point he's like, well, "Let me bring the file up. I probably should have been prepared."
I should have.
I'm gonna be roasting you all night, bro.
I was not prepared.
I can't say anything about that because I forgot about the name of the pay-per-view that I had mentioned just before.
I bet you don't even remember it now.
I don't. I am
Jason's in the boat with me. We're
unashamed
okay.
that I do not.
So
that's the thing about Ole Anderson, though.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot. I was listening to a lot of people kind of lauding him during the week, and I don't know. I feel like if you ask a couple others, they might have some not so nice things to say or not anything at all. Because if you ask Teddy Long what he thought about him, he apparently loved dropping some N-bombs and some other things in his face. If you ask Tito Santana what he thought about him, he'd have some interesting stories as well. And apparently there were a few controversies. And I don't even know if it's really controversial for back then, but there are some stories about him that he wasn't as universally loved as maybe Michael Cole made it out to be during Raw when they mentioned it.
Well, I mean, the other thing I can counter that with, when I read Tony Atlas's book, he mentioned some of the same things, but Tony Atlas took it more philosophically. Like, he didn't mean it the way it sounded. It's just the way people talked back then. And, take that for what it's worth. I mean, is it the right thing to do? No, but Tony Atlas is like, I never got insulted by it. I knew what he was trying to say. He was trying to get my attention, and he got it. And
Tony Atlas was thinking about feet.
Well, yeah, probably. All right. So goodbye, Ole. All right. So we'll move over to Virgil. And, I have mixed feelings about Virgil. Anthony and I got the pleasure of meeting him. I think we've told this story before, how mean and unhappy he was. And the Lonely Virgil website was one of my favorites to visit. So I don't want to speak poorly of the man. I just want to focus on, what he did for wrestling real quick. So we all know him as Ted DiBiase's manservant, right? Who ended up turning on him and all that. But he had a little bit of a career before that. He did wrestle in the CWA. He won a couple of titles. And he actually appeared. The one thing I didn't know was he appeared in the World Wrestling Federation as Lucius Brown and wrestled a couple matches before he actually got to be Virgil. And then, for 2 years, he pretty much wrestled, Ted DiBiase's, like I said, manservant until he turned on him, and then kind of became a mid-carder and then kind of faded out. And then we have our infamous Shane, what different nicknames he had: Vincent, Vince, Virgil, Shane, Curly Bill, so he was basically like they threw things at him to keep him in the, relevant, right? In with the group that he was in at the time. So he really didn't have really wasn't a ring presence, but always seemed to be around. And then, over the years faded out, retired, started doing conventions, and that's where you get your Lonely Virgil appearances. Train stations, parking lots, he just seemed to set up shop wherever.
Vince McMahon star on the Walk of Fame.
And the other thing I didn't know was that he and Ted DiBiase kind of had a falling out, because he would start telling promoters that they were going to appear together at shows and then not tell Ted DiBiase. And then Ted DiBiase have to call and apologize on their behalf. But it sounds like towards the end they seem to have made up. And sadly enough, he had strokes and dementia, and then I think he had colon cancer, I'm reading now, and unfortunately we lost him this week. So, sad. Wish things would turn out a little better for him. So take care, Virgil. Good luck.
Yeah, the last time I saw Virgil, I was walking through Union Square Station in the city one day heading to work, and it took me back. I was like, hold on. Did I just see Virgil set up at a table on my way to work? What? And yeah, it was him. I didn't stop. I kept going, but
yeah. Like most other people.
Right.
I don't feel guilty that we didn't take him up on that offer for a photo for $5.
I've heard he charged people as much as 20 sometimes, and he talked them into coming to take the photo first and then say, all right, $20.
No, I mean, this was literally, he was talking to us for 5 minutes about life in general, and then said, oh, by the way, you guys want an autograph or a photo? And we looked and we're like, no. This was before Lonely Virgil as a website and him going to the flea markets and all that stuff really started happening.
He was angry that we were standing in front of his table and not asking for anything. Do you remember who we were online for? I don't remember.
It was when you got to the edge of the convention, it was because I think you met Gail Kim. I think we both met Kurt Angle. There was DDP, and I think there was one or two others, but those are the three I remember because you met two and I met two. But it was the line had wrapped around this place. It was like putting it quite nicely. It was in a church bingo hall.
And he was mad that we were blocking his table, yet there was no line for him.
Right.
So I'm like, what do we actually
You guys were in the way, man.
And then no sooner do we say no, Rob, like not even a minute later, goes and takes a picture next to Missy Hyatt, who was like 2 tables down from him.
Nice.
So, all right. Well, like I said,
mentioned the Shane thing.
Yeah.
And then, so he was Shane. He was also Vincent.
Yeah.
Which was the rub at Vince after being Virgil, which was the rub at Dusty Rhodes, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what was it? I think he was like Soul Train, Mike Jones or something. That was his real name, but yeah. Mm-hmm. I didn't know he wrestled before WWF.
I didn't either. That's something, and when I was doing the research, I found out. I was like, really? All right, well. Okay.
Nice.
So peace out, guys. Good luck. Maybe I'll see you.
He's been waiting all day to say that one.
Nah, I actually just thought of it, but hey, whatever. All right.
Right.
So let's talk Elimination Chamber, fellas. Hopefully everybody watched it.
Did anybody wake up
No.
for the 5 a.m. call time?
No, I started at 7 a.m. and I only watched about 2 hours of it and then came back later.
The idea that anybody was up before 9 a.m. on Saturday, I don't understand. I watched it maybe around noon.
I think I watched it Saturday night, so I might be the latest. But I did a good job of not looking at any of the spoilers. So I actually got to watch it and not know what was happening, not like I normally do. So, all right. So kick us off, Reverend. You prayed over it. What's your opinion?
Overall, enjoyed it. It was a good, tight show, I thought. It was we talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Sometimes you don't need a lot of matches. You just need to do something good during the matches you have and execute them well. I liked the ending of the women's chamber match. And as a matter of fact, I thought most of the matches ended well, but I liked the ending in particular to the women's chamber match and the men's chamber match as well. We all knew who was going over. I will say with the men's chamber match, for a moment, I thought, oh, they really might give this to Randy Orton. And that's enough for me to have said he did a really good job to make me believe it for a second. I was surprised by the tag match, the men's tag match during the show. There was a women's tag match in the kickoff show that none of us even knew was going to happen, but that was pretty decent too. But the men's tag match was way more entertaining than I expected. And God, I love it. Dom knows how to work that crowd, right? In a country that was waiting to boo him as viciously as they did, he worked that crowd, and I mean, it was fun to watch. And that was another match where for a moment I thought, oh wait, are they actually thinking about changing this title over? And that just speaks to how good they were in the ring. Yeah, overall, very good show. And the main event, I still think Nia Jax is probably having her best run since she was ever a wrestler to begin with. So it's better than her run in NXT, better than her first run at the top of the main roster before. I mean, it delivered. It was fun to watch. I thought it was a solid main event. I don't know if it's overly spectacular. I think it was the right one for that location, and I think the crowd had a lot to do with it. But I thought it was a good, solid match, and it was interesting seeing Rhea Ripley be the good guy in a match. See how that went over. But I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'll jump in. I thought it was a good show. Like you said, Jason, very tight, very well put together show. And no, I'm not just talking about Rhea Ripley's outfit from the main event. Because tip of the cap on that one. I thought the spots in the chamber matches were done well. I like the little added touch of Logan Paul writing on his chamber wall. Kevin Owens telling Bobby Lashley to look up because Randy Orton's standing on his pod was pretty funny. Little tidbits like that. Yeah, I thought it was a good show. The crowd was ripe and ready to go. Dom is Dom. I don't even think it's X-Pac heat anymore. I think it's solid heel heat, and he's doing really well with it. But other than that, I enjoyed it. Not a show that I'd say, all right, hey, let's do a watch long, but I enjoyed it.
Well, we can't do Royal Rumble 95 a third time.
Right?
Yeah, we can.
We got to pick
Well,
it.
not for a couple months.
We can watch it in reverse.
Start at the end and go backwards.
Watch everybody get into the ring.
Go ahead, Encyclopedia.
I think you guys pretty much covered it. I'm not thrilled with all the booking. I'm sick of Becky Lynch. Sorry. I think her and, as much as I hate saying it, I think her and Bianca Belair is a more money match at this point than Becky and Rhea Ripley. But it seems like in the women's division, they wait too long to get some of these dream matches. So like we never got, for example, Becky Lynch versus Ronda Rousey. But neither here nor there. Who seemed to get the best reaction in that match, actually, to the surprise of many, was Tiffany Stratton. She definitely had her coming out party, so good for her. I was happy to see that. She's one of my favorites, so I was glad to see how quickly she's risen up to the, I'd say, upper mid card in the women's division. Tag team title match was good, but really, who cares, Men's match, I'm sorry, Drew McIntyre getting the championship title shot. I just don't get it. He's lost twice. I don't get it. I feel like there were better options, unique options that would look better than this one. This is your possible main event for night one. The only thing I will say is this probably solidifies that maybe it's going to be Becky and Rhea as the main event for night one, because I don't think Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins 3 is your main event,
Does this solidify the cash in for you guys then?
I think that's the only way they could salvage this whole situation, honestly. I mean, we saw Drew and Seth. I forgot that we saw him at Crown Jewel. So we saw it at Crown Jewel. We saw it on Raw. Now we're seeing it at WrestleMania. But anyway, you guys all pointed out all the little tidbits here and there in that match. Great job there. And then Rhea Ripley somehow got a decent match out of Nia Jax. I mean, who knew? Was that on your bingo card? It wasn't on mine.
Yeah, well, it was thanks to Rhea.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying Nia Jax has actually looked like she's improved on this return, and she got a good match. I mean, my former co-host Stevie G was texting. Well, I guess he must have been watching the match live, and I thought, oh God, this sounds like a train wreck. And then when I was watching, I was like, this doesn't sound like a train wreck. It just sounded like he was having fun ripping on Nia just because it's the thing to do. But it was a very good card.
I don't have a ton to add. I'll just say I thought the women outperformed the men once again. I thought that match was a little better. The two things I want to take away. I feel bad for LA Knight because rather than get his U.S. title shot, it looks like he's gonna get AJ Styles, which I'm not sure I understand because he's still hot. And I think they're missing that opportunity because now it looks like Randy Orton's going to get Logan Paul. And I mean, is Logan Paul going to beat Randy Orton? I don't know. I mean? I don't know. It's not a match I was really looking forward to. So, and I wasn't really looking forward to LA Knight and AJ Styles either. So there's really two matches in WrestleMania that I'm sure they won't be bad matches. I just didn't really want them. I was looking forward to LA Knight and Logan Paul. And I honestly didn't give Randy Orton or AJ Styles a second thought. So I don't know. That's the only things I can say. Otherwise, like I said, like you guys said, it was a good card. There was nothing wrong with it. Not sure how, the only other thing I'll say is predictability, right? I think all of us either got a 3-1 or a 4-0 on predictions. So there wasn't any shocks there. But you can't complain too much because the build is good, right? I mean, say what you want about McIntyre. I hear what you're saying, Anthony. I don't necessarily disagree with you, but he's doing a really good job with the build on it. I mean, he's entertaining as hell, which he's never been before. He's always been quite dull. So you got to give him an A for the hype, whereas maybe your C for the match, right? So I hear what you're saying. I'm not so thrilled either, but I'm loving, the shirt with CM Punk and the crying and like
hilarious. Yeah,
he's funny.
Stop tweets,
right? I mean, it's funny. So I mean, he's doing his part to get the hype behind it. So I'll give him that.
Yeah, and it was a cheap win. So he didn't. That's the other thing. He didn't come out looking strong.
But yeah, but he's not. I don't think he's supposed to. I think that's the whole point
Yeah.
of this is that he's just getting by.
Yeah, I know.
You know what I mean? Like he just barely beat Jey Uso, and he just barely beat. Like you know what I mean? He's taking advantage of the situation.
Okay, and this goes into last week when you said you couldn't understand why Nia Jax ran through the Elimination Chamber competitors. You didn't understand that. I don't understand this.
Yeah, I mean, I think the difference is though, like I said, I'm really enjoying his other activities, whereas Nia Jax is just getting in the ring and pushing her weight around.
Yeah, I think with Drew also it's a character. There's a character story going on there because him constantly just getting by people is because of bloodline interference or someone else's interference, and he allegedly doesn't stand for any of that stuff until it works for him. Now
he's basically doing the Pete Dunne. He's doing this.
Yeah.
Like, somebody took Cody out. What was I supposed to do?
He's being a complete jerk about
it. He's being a heel. He's being a complete heel. So, all right. So, a couple other WWE notes. Matt Riddle came out this week and kind of gave us a little information about why he's not with WWE anymore. And one of the things he said is he failed some cocaine tests.
Should he be Matt Riddle or Tony Montana?
Well, I would have sworn it would have been pot, right? I mean, his character is a stoner, not a speed freak. So,
well, I think didn't they stop the weed testing at some point? I can't remember for sure, but I think they started allowing for it.
Well, it's legal in most states now,
right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll be honest with you, I don't know if that's a thing or not. But I just thought it was funny when they said coke. I was like, "Are you kidding me? Really?" I don't know. He's a
did you see the
character.
Memes? Did you see the memes with basically saying how people are shocked AEW didn't sign him, so he could be sniffing the powder with Tony Khan?
Allegedly,
yes. Need a graphic that says that.
Yeah, we should have something that blinks. Allegedly. Anybody have any thoughts about Riddle and cocaine? Or, anything? No? I just figured I'd throw that on there. I was curious if you had any thoughts.
Here's my surprise face for it.
Oh. Well, yeah, because when he says
"Whoa, Randy, you want to do some lines, Randy?"
Right.
Yeah, it's like you kind of. I wouldn't have imagined him doing coke, but if you tell me he did coke, it's not a shock. I'm like, well, yeah, that makes sense.
He's in the wrong era, man. He's an 80s wrestler.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. That's a good point.
In the 2000s, like.
All right.
Yeah, maybe AEW will pick him up and they could team him up with Rob Van Dam.
Can Rob Van Dam still make it to the ring?
Tony Khan thinks so.
Not without help. All right. The other thing I wanted to bring up, recently Maxine Dupree has been in the ring and she's been getting some boos. And what I was surprised by is how a lot of the other wrestlers ran to her rescue, saying that, not to let, I guess maybe it's getting her down or it's making her upset. And they were all like, Rhea Ripley was like, "You're doing great, blah, blah, blah. We support you." That basically the messages were all the same. And I mean, the people are booing her because she's not really good in the ring. And they're trying to have her learn as she goes. And my two reactions to that were, and I'll throw it to Freddie first. We can boo whoever the hell we want to boo, right? We're the fans. We can say what we want to say. We can do what we want. As long as we're not hurting anybody, they encourage you to do that, to react to them. Number two, what is WWE thinking if she's not ready to be in the ring? Why is she on their flagship show? Why is she not down in NXT trying to learn her craft?
Or work in the dark matches.
Or work dark matches. Either way, house shows, whatever. I thought it was totally weird that the wrestlers came out were mad at us, the fans. I just didn't get it. I think we have every right, if we don't see what's right on TV, if we don't like what we're seeing, if we think that, we think we're getting an inferior product, we're allowed to say so. And I can't believe they're so thin-skinned that they can't take a little criticism. I mean, she has to know she's not doing well. Right? So what are we supposed to be like? What is this, kindergarten? Do we get a participation grade?
Right.
Oh, you're doing so good. Even though you botched that moonsault and, you hurt somebody, good. You did a good job anyway. So, Freddie, any thoughts on that? Or Anthony, you look like you might want to say something. Go ahead.
Are we sure that the boos are directed specifically at Maxine Dupree, or is it backstage for putting her in that position to begin with? Because that's where I think the finger should be pointed. I mean, she's doing a job. She's being paid to do that job. If she's not ready, I mean, what's the other option? She goes to them and say, look, I shouldn't be here. I mean, she could do that, but I really think it's WWE's that should be getting the boos on this one. I do legitimately feel bad for her because I think she is trying. And unfortunately, her training, as we said, is happening in front of crowds.
Mm-hmm.
This wouldn't happen back in the day. Back in the day, they wouldn't let you on TV.
CJ Perry, I beg to differ. Lana wasn't ready either.
That's not that far.
I'm talking a little further back, but yeah, you got a point. I would say the same thing about what's the one with the pink hair, who they kept pushing.
Pink hair.
Oh,
Eva Marie.
Eva Marie, yeah, thank you. I knew you'd think of it. She was a train wreck and a half, and yet they kept putting her out there.
And so they supposedly still want her, according to her.
Yeah, according to her.
Allegedly.
Yeah, maybe if every other female wrestler on the planet died.
Jesus Christ. So yeah,
at this point.
So he basically sings the praises of Ole Anderson, but craps on her.
Yep.
What fucking
I'd bring Moolah back at this
podcast are we
point.
doing here?
Oh shit!
I take Mae Young over her at this
King
point.
Ralph situation.
So on this, I'll say it's the culture we're in. Everybody's got to complain about something, and then when they complain, they don't like it because they can't take the criticism. Look, it is what it is. If you're not doing very well, they're going to let you know. Get better. Go down to the performance center. Train more. Get more ring time. That's the way to get better.
Right? Isn't that the solution? Work harder?
Yeah. You can't sit there over spilled milk. Like, it's not going to clean itself up. Figure it out. Get better. And then they'll cheer you. That's the way it is. That's the way it's happened with everybody else. Look at Drew McIntyre. Prime example. This guy fucking sucked when he came in. He was playing the fucking air guitar, the drums in the background for a 3-man band.
You do remember the Chosen One era, right?
I do.
That came first.
He wasn't even really very good then, though, either.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, that wasn't great. How many people really remember the Chosen One era?
I think you'd be surprised personally, but
I remember the theme music.
I mean, look, there's talk about now there's a call to get Austin Theory off TV because he doesn't have a character. They keep putting him over, like they put him over John Cena at WrestleMania. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about the guy.
Well, they didn't do anything with that. I mean, that's the problem, right? If you're going to put him over John Cena, then you need to put him over somebody else and win a title, and
he was already the U.S. champion at that point.
He was in that gray area because he was Vince's guy during the changeover between Vince and Triple H. He got caught in that gray area, and Triple H, I guess, I don't know if he doesn't see it in him or he doesn't.
Well, I'll go back to the Roman Reigns bottleneck.
Yeah.
Where is he supposed to go on that show? Where's anybody supposed to go on that show while Roman Reigns is holding that title hostage?
And I'm not disagreeing with that statement, but Austin Theory as a character has got nothing to do with Roman Reigns holding him back. He doesn't have a character. Even when they put him over Cena made cracks about it. They've done nothing with it. He's not. He hasn't found that character that the fans can relate to in any way, shape, or form. And it's been how many years? Triple H, I don't think you could totally blame here. If right when he took over, Austin Theory disappeared, which I think he did a little bit, but he was still on TV. They kept using him. That's one thing. The Austin Theory John Cena match happened during Triple H's creative reign, not Vince's.
No, but I'm saying he was getting the push during Vince's. So he was already being pushed through it, and then Triple H took over.
But Triple H didn't have to put him in the ring against Cena then either. I mean, that's still a step up.
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and if Cena's willing to do that for you, but also then that goes back to the whole creative thing. All right, if Cena's going to do that for you, what do you do with him after? Remember, wasn't there a WrestleMania? It was Fandango's debut, and he beat Chris Jericho, who at the time wasn't an easy win.
Yes,
but
Rob and I
gave
were
him
there
the
for that
win.
one.
And then I think even
It's
Jericho
hey
talked
Jason,
about it.
it's Fandango.
No. It's fun. Dong. Go. You have
What are you
to
doing
let
over
the
there?
A's breathe.
You all
Yeah.
sound so
But that was the
gay.
issue.
saying it.
Hey, Freddie, why don't you go sing "I Got Sunshine" to the tune of "I Got a Job Role" or whatever the hell you were
Tell
singing.
me more about Fandango.
He's got a character now.
there you
The Austin
go.
Theory
That
of our
is-
podcast. Finally.
Yeah, what is he, Dirty Dango now or something?
Dirty. I think that's it now. But
Yeah.
the whole thing
Stupid
is,
name that is.
it was a long time before he got over with the crowd at all. And that wasn't until the whole Tyler Breeze thing, because they did nothing with him after the WrestleMania win. Like, they didn't do anything for a while.
No,
Like, he wasn't
the fans were doing the
truly
thing.
No, not right away though. That
Yes,
took
they
a
did.
while.
It was the night after WrestleMania. Go watch it.
But they did nothing with him.
Well, let's face it, a
But I
guy
was
named
looking for it.
I
Fandango
wasn't that
is
the
not
fans
going to be
didn't
world
get
heavyweight
behind it.
champion.
Either way,
So
that's neither here nor there, because the question of the topic was really Maxine Dupree, and I'm just curious here.
We're trying to fill an hour here.
Yeah. Well, no. I'm not curious as to
we
why.
like to
it's
is bring up
Maxine
Triple
Dupree.
H and Booker T, and Jason could do that on his own.
No, that's not
Or
what I'm
Tommy
going to talk
Dreamer.
about.
So
What I'm going to talk about, the fact is, we're talking about something that happened at a house show. So to your point, yeah, this is a match that's happening at a house show. So it's a live event, and she got booed at the live event. She didn't complain. She didn't say anything. These are other folks after the video went viral. These are her coworkers coming up and saying stuff. So we don't really see her wrestle on TV very much. She shows up, and if there's a battle royal, she'll be in that. Or if there's a squash match, she'll get squashed. But she doesn't really do anything other than that except go with Alpha Academy. So to your point, yeah, she is doing that thing. And for all we know, she could be in the Performance Center. She's not a very good wrestler right now. She's not even a partially good wrestler right now. She's still working at it, and I think that's why she's getting matches at the live events. But the point is, yeah, if people want to boo her, they can boo her.
I don't mind
they
them
don't
making
like
those
what they're seeing,
comments.
they can boo
They
her.
should make
But-
those comments to her and not put them out
I
on
think-
social media.
Well, I think it becomes a social media thing once the video goes viral, because what used to happen is, and you're a back in the day guy, what used to happen is you would get booed during
I never
during
got
the
booed.
somebody would get booed during a house show, and then backstage that conversation would happen. But what wouldn't happen would be a video sent out to every single person of that wrestler getting booed. So once you make it a public thing, people feel like they need to respond publicly. You see? Because, it's the internet. Even though Twitter isn't a real place, once people see something like that, they can't help but jump on, because people love jumping on failures. And when they see it, they love to jump on with their jokes and all their comments, and that's it.
Oh, that's great.
Off
yes,
the rails.
But no, that's really
The
it.
show has gone off the rails.
But no, that's really it. So I think that's why they responded publicly. But she hasn't said anything. For all we know, she's just at it grinding.
Don't worry, folks. This is his last episode for a while.
Supposed to say that.
He will be back.
This did.
We'll get live updates from Japan.
That's right. The Reverend is headed to the land of the rising sun on a pilgrimage.
That's right.
I think he should have to call in anyway. What time will it be there?
It'll
sometime
actually be
tomorrow, right?
morning. It'll be morning, like 11:30 or 12:30.
It'll be morning. So I actually will eat breakfast and then call in sometimes.
He is going to the land of Yokozuna. He is going to find him,
He's
And-
not going to Samoa.
bring him to Saudi for
Hey,
the
Freddie.
next-
Yokozuna's dead.
I know.
I'm
He's
going to
really
that.
Samoan, in case you
Don't
didn't
tell
know.
Jason.
They don't know that.
He actually can speak English.
It's true.
All right, so
What the hell's wrong with this?
Please move on.
All right. So this weekend we have AEW Revolution featuring Sting's last match. But just this week we had Sting's final Dynamite. I want to know what you guys thought of this segment. And I'm going to let someone else go first because I do not have positive things to say. And I want to give
Shocking.
other people a chance.
Everybody in here shaking their head too. Just, it's the same look.
Rob, you seem like you're going to say something positive. So I'll let you start.
The only positive thing I have to say is it was cool to see Sting come down from the rafters. It was like a callback. Ric Flair, please stay. Go home. Get him a rocking chair. Put him in it. Go home. Please stop. Look. I'm tapping out. No more. No more. He just looks. It's like somebody let some like. I'm surprised someone on the PA didn't go. Excuse me, is someone's grandfather lost? We lost this old man here. He doesn't know where his family is. Can somebody please pick him up? And I wonder at this point backstage, is everybody like, wow, that's Ric Flair? They're like, oh shit, it's Ric Flair again. We have to act like he's, we love him and he's great and all that. Like, you know what I mean? After a while, you wear out your welcome. What did Batman say in the movie? If you stay around long enough, you become, right, they hate you or something like
The
that.
villain,
I can't remember the
You
villain.
die a hero or you live long enough to
Right?
become the villain. Yeah.
I think Ric Flair's become the villain. And I don't mean that in a good way. I mean, like, just go home, man. Or show up at sit in the front row of the pay-per-view and let them put the spotlight on you and wave and smile and then call it done.
Yeah, there's no need to get in the ring anymore.
No, there's no need for him to be involved in any type of angle. Like, it would have been nice for him to be sitting at ringside and when they go, here's Sting's last match and here's Ric Flair's first opponent and here's Ric Flair.
Yeah.
And then we
Sting-
move on to whoever's next.
Yeah, it's not even like they can
Right.
make him put him on the headset for the match because he'd be a liability. God knows what he would say.
Yeah.
I thought you were
So,
going
I
to
mean-
say I thought you were going to say your only positive was that he didn't die in the ring.
Well, you know what? All I'm going
I
to say
would
is
not
this.
go there.
All I'm going to say this.
Rob would.
Rick, I'll see you soon, brother. Okay,
Woo!
go ahead. Somebody else.
I'm not killing off Ric Flair like our other two co-hosts just did.
Two.
Yeah, Jason and Rob.
I said it
Jason's
was
a man of
good
the
he
cloth.
didn't die.
Didn't do that. I didn't hear that at all.
I killed him off. Okay, it's me.
Yeah.
You can blame me.
That I heard. The Young Bucks, are we just gonna hold Ric Flair's nuts in our arms? Like, that was the worst low blow I've ever seen in my entire life. I was like, what are you doing? Like,
He cradled them.
yeah. And like you said, Rob, the only cool thing was seeing Sting come down from the rafters. That was it. Other than that, Ric Flair, his slow punches, like, it's not there, Rick. You're retired for a reason. Enjoy it. Like, if you want to be a manager, be a manager. Don't get in the ring. Don't take a bump. That's it. Like, let it go. Be like Elsa and let it go.
Damn.
Let it go. Let it go. Okay, I'm done.
Oh,
Freddie, we could do a duet on your concert tour.
Hey, if the Eagles' offensive line could do it, we could do it too, man. Christmas album coming 2024.
Oh boy.
Look, man, he was on that mat for a long time after that caress, that low caress. I can't even call it a low blow, but it was a caress. Just that
A low nudge.
Yeah, he was making
low
sure-
nudge. But he was on that mat for a long time, and they kept moving the camera away from him, and I didn't know what was going to happen.
Well, they didn't know. That's why.
Yeah, exactly. I was just glad he got up. Yeah, it was. Yes, the rafters. Agreed with you. Seeing him come down from the rafters, that was the highlight. That was the only light of that segment, in my opinion. Can I ask you a question? Because I hate this trope. If you hit somebody with a lead pipe or a bat, and then they just run away, but you've hit them a few times with the pipe or the bat, doesn't that just kind of bother you? Like if they just run off and act like nothing happened?
Hold on. Before the encyclopedia responds, the Young Bucks no sold again?
I know.
Here's the encyclopedia shocked face.
No, it's more like this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw it last week. I think I saw John Moxley take a superplex and then a pile driver and walk around like nothing was wrong 2 seconds later.
The best person that sold on the entire episode of Dynamite this week was a guy from CMLL, Atlantis Jr. He sold that lion tamer like it was the most devastating submission of all time. And I'm like, how does this freaking guy that's been on the show once get it? And these other clowns that have been here for 4 years still don't know how to sell jack shit.
I find it interesting that you bring CML just for a minute. I think it's funny that they bring these guys in and they haven't won anything. So what we're saying is we're better than Mexico, right?
Basically.
Freaking racists.
So go ahead, Anthony. I want to hear the Sting rant. Go ahead, do it.
I don't have a ton here to say that you guys haven't already said, but my freaking God, first off, Darby Allin attacks the Young Bucks, rips the mask off, and gets the crap kicked out of him. And then Ric Flair comes down, and oh my God, big shock. He turns on the Young Bucks. And then eventually they beat the crap out of him. And then Sting comes down for the rafters, and I'm sitting there like, man, if I was Sting's friend, I'd be really upset right now because I've been getting the crap kicked out of me for the last 10 freaking minutes before he showed up. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, first when Darby Allin was getting the crap kicked out of him, I was like, is anybody going to come down? Is Sting going to show up at some point?
Hey, somebody's beating Jace up. Hey, give me a second. Hang on. I'll be there in a minute. Wait, there's 3 guys beating Jace up. All right, give me a minute. Hold on.
But then again,
right there.
I got to make this cool.
Right?
Cool.
Hang on.
But this is AEW. I mean, you remember that time Matt Hardy was getting the crap kicked out of him, and Jeff Hardy came out for the save and did a dance before he came running down. I mean, and didn't they just hire someone from WWE Creative that was going to save everything? Boy, bang up job that first week, huh?
She hasn't started yet.
Oh, that's the excuse. Right.
Still doing her onboarding or something. I don't know.
All I know is
Jason.
notice
already.
All I know is, Jason, if you're ever attacked, I will come save you. But if someone doesn't play my entrance music, I'm not coming down the ramp.
I'm not coming down the ramp. Your ass down.
Blame the sound crew.
Hang on a minute. I got to find my entrance music. Hold on.
It's just this entire storyline from top to bottom, I feel like, has been a complete fail. And Sting's a legend. I mean, I don't like that he's undefeated at his age, but whatever. The other thing, watching the show from top to bottom and then the Sting thing, first off, I'm looking around at this crowd and I'm like, there's barely 3,000 people there, I think is what WrestleNomics said, or WrestleTix came out. And I'm like, this is Sting's Final Dynamite, and they got 3,000 people there. And I realized, holy shit, they keep trying to say that they're innovative, they're so creative and what have you. They are really, and I've said it several times, but it really occurred to me, they're completely an indie show. We'll get one big name on there to sell all the tickets. We'll throw them in there with somebody that we want to be, the big name in our company. And then everything else is crap. What are they going to do after Sting this weekend? Who's going to be their draw? Because the people in AEW that they're supposed to be their cornerstones or their pillars, they're not bringing the tickets in. They're not selling tickets. Who's really going to care?
Mercedes Moné.
I'm a huge Mercedes Moné fan. I love her. I think her NXT run, I don't think has been topped yet. She was so vicious as that character. Nobody's let her do it since. She's not a draw. She's not a draw. She might spike the ratings for one episode, maybe 2. I mean, Eric Bischoff recently was on his podcast and he said you might see a spike for 3 to 4 weeks tops. Then it's going to go back to where it was. And I get that their viewers have slowly climbed up to the 800,000s again. All right, great, wonderful. The ticket sales are not reflecting that.
I mean, here's the
they
problem.
They don't have a draw. Hold on.
Hmm?
Replacing Sting will be Rob Van Dam. Rob Van Dam's going to play that role next. You watch.
Yeah, possibly.
Who's left?
No,
Are we gonna have Ric Flair's last match number 2?
Oh God.
Number 4.
I tell you what, I think you're right. I think another issue is, and I think I've brought this up before, is we're bringing in these stars from Japan. We're bringing in these, like last week they had, I forget the guy's name, June. I can't. Sorry, I don't remember how to say his last name. Begins with an A. I know who he is.
Jun Akiyama.
Yeah. I mean, very famous All Japan wrestler. Who the hell in the States knows him? Number one. Number two, he hasn't been relevant in probably 5 years. So for like your indie talent, like Anthony said, everybody was like, "Ooh, dream match." I was like, "All right, I know who this guy is. It might have been interesting 5 years ago, but your normal fan off the street has no idea who this guy is. Why do I even care?"
That's the other thing. How much money is Tony Khan spending on Bryan Danielson's retirement tour and bringing in all these people that Bryan Danielson had on his bucket list? Who cares on most of them?
There's nothing wrong with doing that if it's done correctly. If there's video packages, if these guys show up a few weeks ahead and beat a few established talents in AEW. So you're like, holy shit, June just beat Trent Beretta, or he just beat, you know what I mean? This guy's a real threat. Like, this guy might, instead he shows up on a Collision and you're like, all right, it's Saturday night, I'm watching Collision. All right, well, it was a good match, but you know, they're trying to hype him in the 10 minutes that the match is going on. And I'm like, I know who this guy is, but do you? Probably not.
No, the only thing I watched on Collision was that opening match with Sammy Guevara and Powerhouse Hobbs. And then I knew about the Bryan Danielson, Jun Akiyama match. I actually had fast forward to go watch that match. And the other day I said, you know what, I'm never going to watch this and I don't care. And I deleted it.
It wasn't very good.
Yeah.
He's past his prime. You know, so
look at
Danielson handled him pretty easily.
And you notice none of the AEW superstars are sitting there saying they're the greatest company in the world and what have you, like they were bragging about for years. I honestly think they're like, at this point, we're getting paid heavy to do next to nothing. Whatever, who cares? I mean, Will Ospreay, he's cutting that promo, and good for him. But I'm sitting there like, this guy's totally here for a paycheck. Because this was my big debut, I'm supposed to be one of the greatest wrestlers out there in the world, and he is. I'm not denying that. And I'm in front of 3,000 people on my debut. Official debut as an AEW superstar. Really? I'd be like, well, at least they're paying me well.
Well, to your point, Rob, Ice Cube's son came out and said the same exact thing that you said about them not getting a storyline. How are they supposed to know the guys that just randomly show up? There's no story behind it or anything. And the AEW fan base tried to rip him to shreds. And what did he say? He said, I don't give a shit. Get better. Like, that's what he said. Like, well, I mean, it's the truth.
These Mexico guys showed up and they're supposedly all wearing belts and they're all supposed to be very good wrestlers, and they have been getting beaten soundly. Mm-hmm. So they're not even making an impact. They're just jobbers that to make the AEW guys look good.
Is AEW returning the favor down in CMLL? I don't think so.
In some cases they are, but they're not sending their number ones in a lot of cases either.
Right.
So we're not sending Danielson down there to lose. We're not sending Moxley down there to lose.
They're not sending their champions down there to lose.
No, they're setting maybe one or two guys as like a token. But again, this guy Atlantis was pretty good. I honestly I've heard of him. I've never seen him wrestle. He's wearing a belt. I don't know what it's a middleweight belt. We don't defend middleweight belts in the United States. So what does that mean to me? Nothing. And he's fighting Chris Jericho, who's way past his peak, who probably should have lost.
Not if you ask Jericho.
I mean, Jericho's two matches away from being in Jeff Hardy territory.
I mean, how many times has Jericho actually done the job to try to raise somebody up in the AEW roster, and they've done nothing with it? Yeah, he's got to win at some point.
I'll give Jericho that. Yeah.
Maybe it's time for AEW to just kind of accept what they are. And when I say for them to accept, I mean Tony Khan to accept what they are. Because you're talking about, hey, you know, you're bringing these people in and there's no attachment to it. And I think we've all said it before. It's like it's a glorified indie fed. It feels like that sometimes, in that they don't use that same storytelling from week to week for their entire show to bring people in. They do it for some rivalries and some matches. They do a good job building the story, but then they'll drop it after a certain point. And they'll say, oh, but we got this person here for a dream match. just admit that's the company you are. Work in some smaller venues where 3,000 people will feel like, 12,000.
Like ECW.
Yeah,
Being
like
ECW.
ECW did, like TNA did, like a lot of people, like NXT does and did before. There's no shame in that. I don't think there's anything wrong with being that company, but they gotta learn. They gotta figure out what their identity is, because you're just gonna start seeing people go through the motions even more than they already are sometimes. I texted Encyclopedia. I texted you yesterday. I said, how come we didn't get an opening match like this to when we were at the show at Nassau Coliseum or whatever? Was it Nassau Coliseum? I don't know.
Prudential Center.
Prudential Center.
And I do have a counter on what you're about to say, but go ahead.
Well, I wish I had waited to hit send on that text, because no more than 5 minutes later into a match that was way too long anyway, did they just start fucking up everything. And I mean, I watched them send Dax Harwood into the corner, and I think he was supposed to get kicked by Moxley, but he fell over, and Moxley didn't even stop. He just went ahead and kicked him anyway, so caught him square in the head, and it was a clear botch, and then just picked him up and pile drove him anyway. But it didn't matter, because nobody gets pinned by a pile driver anymore these days. And then the match devolved into this thing where they were just hitting finishing move after finishing move, and nobody cared. And I realized, oh, well, I mean, fuck it, I'm glad they didn't have this match in front of us at Prudential Center. I would have tuned out, and they would have showed our faces tuned out, because that's the side of the ring we were on. So I don't know. I figure out your identity, AEW.
I mean, you had 5 guys that have wrestled for WWE. I mean, Eddie Kingston's the only one that hasn't. You had guys that have been renowned for having great matches. It was a spot fest towards the end. Like, I was thinking about your text message, and I'm like, well, I'm like, yeah, it's good if you just want to see spot fest, but my God, these guys are experienced enough that nobody's selling anything.
Yeah,
like, who cares? And that's another reason why I referenced that they are an overgrown indie company. You go to indie shows and you see a lot of that because they're still learning.
Well, there's also no TV either, so you can do whatever the hell you want when there's no TV, right? You're just trying to entertain the crowd at that point.
Right. And I mean, it's cool to have that on TV if that's the thing people want to see, but don't advertise yourself as something else and then do that.
All right, so speaking of a crap fest, AEW's pay-per-view this week.
That was the original name of this pay-per-view.
Crap fest.
I got the poster. I'm going to put it up next week.
It's just a piece of shit nailed to a wall.
Yeah.
By the way, what I before we start doing this, we were supposed to they announced, what was it, Man Meat Madness, and then all of a sudden I'm watching and they're talking about an all-star scramble match, which included some of these guys that were announced for this so-called Man Meat Madness, and I'm like, so what was Man Meat Madness supposed to be? And what the hell is an all-star scramble match? I've looked all over the place. They haven't even told us what it is.
A man meat match is probably like Wardlow, Hobbs, Archer, Cage.
It was
and
only
then they
supposed
threw the rest
to be,
of these guys in.
It was supposed to be Wardlow, Powerhouse, Hobbs, and Lance Archer, like you said. But there was something about injuries or something. So Tony, I mean, he literally tweeted out, "We're changing this to an all-star scramble match." That's fucking great. What is that?
It's the winner gets the title match.
Surprise.
Is it like that scramble match concept that WWE did when Punk lost the belt without losing the belt?
I just think it's
yet. I think they're gonna figure it out the day of the show.
Who's Magnus?
I think as they're coming down to the ring, they're gonna say, "All right, this is what's gonna happen." Yeah, who is Magnus?
He is from CMLL. He, I believe, beats. Sorry, spoiler, folks. Not that anyone watches Rampage. I believe Magnus beats Matt Sydal to qualify for this match.
Oh well.
Okay.
Matt Sydal. Okay.
And apparently Dante Martin must have won the triple threat match with Penta, and I forget who the third.
Yeah,
guy
he
was.
did.
The bounty hunter guy. who we saw
Keith David or something.
like
Brian
that.
Keith.
Yeah.
Brian Keith,
yeah.
thank you.
Who
Keith
we
David,
saw.
jeez.
I think we saw
close
him in his
enough.
first match at that Prudential show. I think
I
that
don't
was
think
his
that was his
first
first
AEW match.
First AEW.
His first match
maybe.
was,
Yeah.
I think, Orange Cassidy, wasn't it?
Was that the match we got? I don't remember.
No, we got him in a tag match, I think, or something like that. But anyway,
who cares?
yeah, exactly, because they're not doing anything with him. That's the thing. No, they're not doing it.
You're arguing over nothing.
Yeah.
Come on, we got to compete with the length, the runtime of this card. We got to go 4 hours.
Remember 2 weeks ago, we were looking at this card saying, oh, if they add maybe 1 or 2 just matches to
I was
set
not
the
part of that
tempo.
conversation. Don't
No.
lump me into this bullshit.
No, you weren't. I wasn't including you on this. But we were looking at the card saying this could be a really solid show. They just need 1 or 2 things in here to kind of set the tempo or, give a break in between.
Tony
and
Khan
instead
said we could add 1 or 2 matches, or maybe 6.
Yeah. All rise. That's all we want.
Yeah,
No drops.
There's 9 matches announced, and I don't think any of them have been designated for the kickoff show yet.
So
Even
there
though
could be
some
at
of these
least
should
2
be.
more.
they'll designate more matches.
Or
They'll announce more matches like during the commercial
Collision.
on Rampage or on Collision. Yeah, they'll announce them.
All right. So let's start off. All Stars Scramble.
No, hold on. We got to talk some more about. No, go ahead.
We've gone over the participants already. Who do you guys got in this one?
By the way, the winner gets a future AEW World Championship match.
With that being the case, I'm going to go Wardlow in this one.
Agreed.
Yeah, I
agree.
like that choice.
I'm gonna go Powerhouse Hobbs.
Be nice.
He's been killing it lately. Wardlow seems to me like the easy choice.
Well, it is AEW, and they're talking about a lot of man meat, so Wardlow.
Wardlaw?
All right. Next one, we've got...
I'm using a new keyboard. You could type it in if you want.
It doesn't matter. We know who you're talking about.
Will Ospreay versus Takeshita?
Takeshita.
Okay,
Takeshita.
MJF.
Ospreay across the board. Is he going to lose his first official AEW debut pay-per-view match?
I agree with you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Ospreay.
Yeah.
All right. Next one. Is this all? No. All right. FTR versus the Blackpool Combat Club. Moxley and Claudio.
He can't say the last name. That's why he's stopping there.
Claudio.
I don't want to butcher it, so.
I believe
Castagnoli?
it's Castagnoli.
There you go.
Sounds like a pasta.
No. Now I'm hungry.
Reverend, who you got?
This is hard to do because
Dude, you
It's
live in
like-
Brooklyn. Something's still open.
it's like they never lose. Blackpool Combat Club never lose, or rather, John Moxley never loses. It feels like, but I don't see the point if FTR doesn't win. So I guess since it's pointless, it'll be BCC. Yeah, I'm going with Combat Club.
I'll go
Agreed.
FTR.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
That's
FTR
who
is
should
gonna
win. FTR should win. I
Hmm.
just don't. I can't tell what they're trying to do with them.
I'm going to go with you, Jay.
All right. Next match. AEW TNT Championship.
Does anyone really think Danny Garcia's got a chance?
Yes,
Oh, never mind.
I think he does. I think you could see the return of Adam Copeland here. And Daniel Garcia is hot right now.
He's been losing lately.
He's on the rise. They're pushing him. I'm not necessarily sure I'm going to pick him, but I can definitely.
After he tries
look,
to sell him to us.
I think I can see a scenario where he would win.
Yeah.
Well,
And it would make sense.
I could see scenarios for either guy any night of the week. That doesn't mean that's necessarily what they're going to do.
Well, I mean, what they're going to do and what we think are two different things as usual. I'm going to go Garcia here. I'm going to take a chance. Whatever.
You're so far ahead, it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, I mean, come on, let's have a little fun with it. I'm going to pick Mother Wayne to win.
I'll go Christian Cage.
And
Cage.
it's weird to say. I got to side with the devil.
Oh,
I mean,
I'm going-
when
I
Christian
can
Cage, did you see when he gave out that address? Did everybody see the meme of that address? It's actually a
It's
cemetery.
actually a cemetery, yeah.
I would like.
He's another guy. He's been on top.
I'm
He's
like,
been on top of his game.
AEW isn't doing a lot right. Christian Cage is doing it right.
If it wasn't for how over Swerve Strickland is, and I'm not a Strickland fan, I freely admit that, and Samoa Joe, my God, Christian Cage should be the world champion.
He still might be.
You think?
Stranger things have happened. This is AEW we're talking about.
No. Stranger Things is on Netflix.
Okay, next match. Singles match for the Continental Crown Championship, whatever the hell that thing is.
Another made-up title in AEW.
It's right there on
I
the
mean,
screen
they're all
for
made
you.
up titles.
It doesn't matter what you say is there. It still doesn't make any sense. Is he defending all three belts? Does he defend one belt? They should make
I
him
think
defend it
it's for
3
all
times in
three.
one night. Yeah, I know.
think
I
it
know
is
it
for
is.
all
It's
three,
supposed to
right?
be a tribute to the old Triple Crown. If Danielson loses, he has to shake Kingston's hand. So, right, Eddie Kingston's going to win, right?
Just off of that
I
though,
think so.
I heard them say. I thought I heard them say no matter what happens, he has to shake Kingston's hand, or is that just something?
No,
I'm just going on what Wikipedia had.
Okay,
I think if Danielson loses, he has to shake his hand. What's the point otherwise?
fair. Yeah, Kingston.
Yeah, Kingston as well. But this has to be one of the stupidest stipulations I've ever heard in my entire life.
Well, it's a respect match.
Yeah, it makes sense.
They've done those for years.
What year is this? The year you went to high school? 1940?
Sabu and
They do this
Taz
shit in
had
Ring of Honor all the
a
time.
series of matches. Yeah, thank you. Ring of Honor did it all the time.
You're
Gay.
making it sound like it's the
Wow.
Punjabi prison or the
Sucks.
hog pen match.
Well, I've
that's
never
what I do.
seen such
You
a
know,
visceral reaction.
I was gonna say you
to
really
a
should come out of the bear.
handshake.
You really should come out of the bear cave once in a while and look at the calendar and notice that it's 2024.
Like, hey, shake my hand. Come on.
Are you going to bring the crying game segment over to this podcast too? I heard you guys talking about that.
Freddie's
Where
favorite
the
movie.
freak did that come from? I mean,
Freddie,
I'm listening to this and I'm
that's your
like,
favorite
can you
movie,
just
isn't
say the crying game? This guy went on this 5-minute soliloquy that rivals Jason's rants about
Freddie's
you know,
favorite movies: Brokeback Mountain, The Crying Game.
All right, what's the next match?
You forgot Deliverance.
Timeless Tony
We're all trying to forget Deliverance.
versus
Freddie, I can't quit you, buddy.
versus
Can that be the title of the episode?
who do you guys got?
I don't know. He gets to let his character out more on the other podcast.
Who do you guys got here?
Timeless.
going-
I got this one.
Ill women's match. Ill.
Oh, God.
That's what you get for trying to act like an adult with us.
Right?
We're not having it. We're not having it.
You will not raise this podcast. It will stay down at the bottom where it belongs.
Let us be children, damn it. It's what we do.
I think Tony Storm is going to retain.
Yeah.
I mean, I really want Purrazzo to be more over than she is. I just think it's falling flat. And yeah, Timeless Tony Storm is just, she's on a roll. Why would you stop it now? I think the dream match next is Timeless Tony Storm against Mercedes Monet. So I don't think you're putting the belt on Deonna.
I mean,
And if those of you I mentioned it to these guys. If you haven't listened to it, go back a few weeks. Talk is Jericho, Timeless Tony Storm. She was in character the whole freaking hour. And Jericho's playing into it. It was brilliant.
It feels like the old Matt Hardy interview that he had, the Broken Matt interview from years ago. And Matt Hardy stayed in broken character the whole time. And it was one of his best.
I mean, Purrazzo might be, might have a history and all that, but like, again, he did a really poor job at pulling that across. Her matches have been lackluster. They really didn't build her up, other than they're building off the relationship the two of them have. But to me, like the way Tony Storm is now, like there is no relationship. Like they don't really. I don't know. It just, like Anthony said, it's falling flat. So I think they're going to move on and wait for Monet to show up.
Yep. In Boston.
All right. The AEW dead air. The AEW
Killing the business, killing the room.
Championship. Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong. I mean, Roderick Strong's going to win, right?
I hope so.
I'm going strong.
Yeah.
Next strong.
Next strong.
Adam.
Who thought he would actually get over and have some charisma? Roderick Strong of all people. Good for him, man. Freddie?
Yeah,
So next one.
Freddie, did you say strong also? Sorry.
Yeah, strong as well for me.
Okay.
Next one, I'm pretty sure it's Sting across the board. Sting's retirement match.
There's some that are saying that they actually think young Sting's going to go out on his back like he should.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing, because they say that he wants to do the right thing. The right thing for him to do would be to lose the titles, right? Because
the right thing would be to put someone over who needs it. Those young bucks, those up and comers,
Well, I mean, here's the problem, right? Sting and Darby win. They still have the titles. What do they do the next night? They give them up, right? Because Sting's
tournament
retired.
might be compelling. Then if they do another tournament, AEW loves tournaments. They got like 3 or 4 weeks of TV right there.
Well, I mean, I think they could really have a great tournament if they include the Mexican teams, the Japanese teams, if they really decide to go all out and make it a tournament like it should be.
I saw you did there. Well,
I was going to say pun intended. No pun intended.
Yeah. All right.
You didn't even realize it.
I got it. I just trying to move this thing along. I don't know. Demon, speak to me. I'm gonna go
my pick. Who cares?
Sting and Darby.
Okay. I'm gonna agree.
But I could be swayed to go the opposite direction.
Actually,
because the Young Bucks are assholes.
I was gonna say I would say Sting and Darby, but it's the Young Bucks. They're assholes.
Sting and Darby for me.
Okay.
If anybody could make Sting finally losing a match piss people off, I think it would be the Young Bucks winning that match.
I don't think the Young Bucks are going to be able to live that down if they beat Sting. I think they're going to get booed out of the building. I think it's not going to be a good thing for them.
I don't think they give a shit.
Well, I'm just saying.
Especially if they.
I mean, the EVP thing isn't terrible. It's actually a pretty decent idea. It's just the execution and the fact that it's the freaking Young Bucks.
Look, like I said, I could change my mind tomorrow, but I'm going to stick with Sting and Darby for now.
I was going to say we still have till Sunday.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, main event.
Main
Three-way
event
match for the AEW World Championship. Samoa Joe defends against Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland.
I'm going Joe. I don't think he's losing the title yet.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'll go Joe, and I think Hangman eats this pin on this one.
I said this weeks ago. Page is only in this match to eat the pin.
Yes, agreed.
All right. That is our episode for this evening. The Sports Frenzy Pod.
No, you got to sing us out, man.
The Sports Frenzy Pod on Twitter. The Sports Frenzy Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Like, subscribe, follow, Come and check us out every week.
Tell your
We'll see
friends.
you guys next week.
Fake borrow steal.
Peace.